Diversity in law enforcement from various perspectives. Diversity in law enforcement is a narrative that has been spoken of more and more over recent years as the relationship between the public and the police has become strained. While I do agree with diversity being important, I don't agree that it is to be based on skin color or gender alone, because as we have learned, diversity is much more than a hair color or background, but essentially the entire makeup of an individual. In the end, the person who best fits the job should be given the opportunity to serve as a police officer, not just anyone who helps government officials check a box to appear more inclusive. After all, not trusting a person based on their skin color or culture, no matter what it may be, is essentially racist and should not be tolerated. Starting with the minority group of women, we look back at the history of policing. We see that women were first introduced to policing in the early 19th century as a means to work with women and children and guard women prisoners. This proved to be effective due to their nurturing nature, and has even proven to be effective in reducing certain crimes and aiding in the reporting of other crimes that are less likely to be reported to male officers. For example, with female officers on duty, victims are more willing to report violent crimes, and the non-fatal domestic abuse rate is reduced. The trust and overall relationship with the community are improved, and the use of excessive force is less likely. Even with all these positive factors, only 12% of law enforcement are women and 3% as chiefs of police. Minorities such as African American officers were hired as early as 1871 in Chicago, when they hired their first officer, James Shelton, followed by the first African American female officer in 1918. African Americans continued to climb up the ranks, and most recently Barbara West attained the rank of Deputy Superintendent in 2020 after working her way up during her 26-year career. These officers were influential in reaching out to the community and interacting with them positively throughout their careers, because they came from the area and cared about the success of their neighborhoods. Humanities have played a role in increasing the diversity in policing through such shows as Get Christy Love, which influenced Barbara West to get into law enforcement and rise through the ranks. Without a show like this, it would have made it less likely that a black woman would go into a law enforcement career which was dominated by white men at the time it aired. Thanks to this, the film industry impacted this woman, who in turn impacted the law enforcement field by breaking barriers and showing how successful she could be as a police officer. Through the humanities lens, we also see how black officers on the same assignment in the same neighborhood as white officers were less likely to stop, arrest, and use force against civilians. When looking at 100 shifts, we see how black officers made 16 fewer stops and 2 fewer arrests, resulting in a 20 to 30% reduction compared to white officers. These figures show how officers treated offenses differently. Essentially, some officers used more personal discretion while others did not within the same community. The natural sciences play a role in police diversity, as recruits are selected based on their physical status. This includes such things as height and weight ratio. For example, a person who is 5 feet 7 inches tall must weigh at least 140 pounds, but no more than 180 pounds. Other physical traits will play a role as disqualifying factors as well, such as musculoskeletal problems, heart or lung issues, coordination, skin issues, and hernia or rectal issues. These issues will keep an officer from performing his or her duties effectively or cause a liability to the department, so these candidates are not likely to be chosen. Agencies also have different physical standards for men and women based on their biological makeup. This causes an issue because it implies that women cannot do the job unless the standards are lowered for them, and this fuels resentment. The social sciences show us how women play a role in having a better relationship with the community, which results in more crimes being reported. Women officers benefit a department because they are less likely to use excessive force, they are more skilled at addressing violence against women and sex crimes, and they improve police and community relations. When a task force established to address 21st century policing was established in 2016, it found the benefits of a diverse law enforcement agency. This level of diversity included not only race and gender but also other characteristics such as religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, language ability, background, and experience. This task force found that this proved to be critical in building trust with the communities, and found that it was bolstered by decades of research that confirmed when the public believes that their law enforcement organizations represent them, understand them, and respond to them, they are perceived as fair, legitimate, and accountable, which deepens the trust in law enforcement. This not only creates an atmosphere where victims and witnesses feel comfortable going to the police with information, but also creates a safer work environment for the police.